Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the glorious model D2 wireless. This is an update to the glorious model D2 lineup that includes the Pro model that I've previously reviewed, but this is a more affordable mouse with a large ergonomic shape and those classic holes in it, as well as the RGB lighting. You'll notice it has both Bluetooth 5.2 low energy and wireless connectivity, as well as USB-C. The claim is up to 210 hours of battery life maximum, but we'll get to that in a minute. And as you can see from several angles, this has some nice RGB down the sides, although that does have quite an impact on that battery life, and we'll get to that in a little while. Now, I'm actually quite a fan of the D2 size and shape. It's a nice medium to large mouse that fits both palm and claw grip styles, and so it's more comfortable for me with that ergonomic shape with a nice edge on it that fits your thumb quite nicely. This is an intriguing mouse to follow on from the D2 Pro though, because the Pro model didn't have any holes in it, and yet this is actually a little bit heavier. So that's a curiosity in itself. However, it is still a lightweight mouse coming in at around 66 grams, as I'll show in a second, and it is actually very nice to use in some ways with some satisfying clicks and some reasonable specs that include up to 26,000 DPI and the usual reasonable specs like 650 IPS tracking, 50 Gs acceleration, and up to 80 million clicks on the main buttons. The BAMF sensor 2.0 has also been improved, so it has good tracking, and I haven't had any issues there. Now you'll see on the underside, you will have noticed that you can peel off the little stickers to make sure that it runs properly, and then you have the USB-C cable, which Glorious keeps insisting on making weird because it only plugs in one way. I mention this in every Glorious mouse review, and yet it still exists that you have to make sure it's plugged in the right way around. There is a little notch on top of the cable that you can see there, and that needs to be facing towards the sky in order to plug it in. Now, plugging it in is one of the things that I found I have to do a lot as well, so it doesn't have as good a battery life as you might expect from that large claim. 210 hours battery life is over Bluetooth with the RGB turned off, but most people will be gaming using the accompanying dongle. I'd recommend using this adapter, which allows you to put the plug in there and then have the cable within reach when you need to charge, and then you can put the wireless dongle into that, so you basically have the signal close as well. I haven't had any problems with signal, I will note. It has been good in that response, but what I have found is I am plugging it in a lot more often than I have been other mice that I've been reviewing lately. But as you can see, it is still a lightweight mouse, so it is quite lightweight and easy to use, and I've certainly found it comfortable. I will say that it doesn't seem to have any issues there. The feet are nice and slick, and you do have a good response from it and a nice bit of comfort, and I like the way it pushes up into the palm and is easy to grip onto. It's designed for palm and claw grippers, and I'm very much a palm user, so if you like that style as well, then you shouldn't have a problem. Included in a box are these additional PTFE feet which you can stick to the mouse, and I prefer doing this because you can get a much larger space on there with slicker feet across the entirety of it, and they are very slick, so it certainly does flick around nicely as well. And the good news is actually adding on these extra areas doesn't add a huge amount of extra weight to the mouse as well, so if you're worried that that might be a problem, you can see we're basically looking at like a couple of extra grams here, or maybe even one. There may be some variation on your model. So for the most part, this has been a good mouse to use, and a comfortable one as well. It's got some satisfying clicks that I'll leave a sound test of at the end so that you can hear that. And I found some good response from the buttons too. I found it accurate to use during gaming sessions with very minimal problems. You've got 6 programmable buttons, including the DPI button on top, and obviously those large side buttons. My complaint there is they are a bit slick and close together. So if you have oily or sweaty hands, you might struggle with those thumb buttons on the side in a fast-paced game. I wish they had a matte finish to them, but the styling of the mouse is certainly very nice, and there are some nice accents to it. I would like a LED indicator or something easy to see to let you know when you're running low on battery, though, because I have found it's just suddenly run low without much warning. You can see here from this angle the sort of grip that you can have on the mouse and the comfort of it. The thumb presses nicely into the underside, and there's plenty of room below those side buttons for it to sit comfortably as well, which is certainly a benefit. And then there's some good action on it. The mouse wheel also has a good response to it. It isn't too noisy. I've certainly found no obnoxious noises coming from the thing. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to make you a pro gamer. I'm an old man now, so my responses aren't what they used to be, but I have found accurate tracking from it, and I was able to get some good sessions in aim labs with that, where it moves around nicely, tracking items and shooting little balls. If you want to improve your aim, then you could always use something like this. And naturally, this is with the wireless 2.4 gigahertz connectivity rather than Bluetooth, because that ensures a low latency connection, and that's why you end up suffering with battery life. But we'll talk more about the software in a minute and show you some of the tweaks that you can make in there, because it does have 3 onboard profiles as well. So I have been able to hit my shots in PUBG, and we have won some games while I've been playing with this mouse as well. So maybe that's a sign that it's pretty decent, and it is satisfying, certainly, in the hand. So there are some good things going on there. You do have adjustable DPI levels, and there is a DPI button on top that you can switch between the levels on the fly, which I do like personally, but I know that's not for everybody. Or it's customizable, so you can tweak those buttons and change them in the settings so you can adjust it to be whatever you prefer, so that's nice. One of the other things that I like about this is that you can pick the mouse up and flick it over, and that little LED indicator will then have the color visible immediately, so you can see what DPI level you're on. It will change color when you click the button to let you know what level you are on, but just at a glance you'll be able to see. So for example, if I flip mine over, it shows red, and that's because the current DPI level is set to 1600, and that's represented by red by that LED. So that's a nice little touch. I just wish you had an obvious battery indicator like that on the fly as well. Now here's a quick sound test, and then I'm going to show you what you could do in the glorious software. And here we are in the glorious core software, which is fairly basic. On the standard page, you'll see my mouse is currently at 64% battery, so that's one of the indicators you get. So if you do need to check quickly to see how much battery life you've got left, you can open the software at least. And then if you go into here, you'll see immediately there's also 3 profiles that you can save onto the mouse itself. So it does have some onboard memory, and you can check your current firmware version in the top right as well. Under the settings tab, you'll find the adjustable polling rate, which only goes up to 1000 Hertz. If you want high, you'll need the D2 Pro model, and then you can adjust the lift-off distance between 1 and 2 millimeters and the debounce time as well. In the lighting, you have the option to adjust the brightness, and I would recommend reducing the RGB brightness down quite significantly for the wireless mode. Yes, it's nice to have, but one of the things I've found with this is it doesn't go to sleep very intelligently. unfortunately, at least the default settings. So sometimes you'll find that your mouse is lit up even when you're not using it and your PC's off if it's in wireless mode, and obviously that's going to reduce the battery life. But generally speaking, the battery life will be significantly low anyway if you've got the wireless brightness turned up. Sure, when it's plugged in it's fine, but otherwise you probably want to reduce it. And then you have various different RGB settings that you can go into through here, and you can adjust the colors of them and choose that sort of thing. You can also have separate wired and wireless brightness there if you're looking for that. And then you'll see adjustable DPI levels. These are the default ones: 400, 800, 1600, 3200, 6400, but you can go all the way up to 26,000 if you so choose. And this, as I said, is the standard indicator colors on the underside that you've already seen. When you click the DPI button, the LED underneath changes to let you know which of these modes you're in. In the key binding section, obviously 6 buttons, all programmable, so you can program, for example, when you push the mouse button in, the middle mouse in, you can change that, and you can program macros in here, so you can record macros if you want to. That's one option. And then other things including, for example, keystrokes, keyboard functions, general mouse functions, multimedia playback, and other things. So you do have something here. For example, if you're not going to use a DPI button because you don't like changing DPI, you could obviously set that to be something completely different. So you do have some basic options in here. It's fairly straightforward software, fairly basic, nothing too crazy, but that's probably beneficial in some ways because it makes it easier to control and set up. I would recommend downloading it to change the lighting and adjust the settings in there. But as you can see, there's no real options in here to adjust the battery life. There's no battery saver options. So it doesn't seem very intelligent in that way because it just keeps running low on battery, which is obviously not ideal. And I have certainly been plugging this in more than I would like. Hopefully you found this video useful though. If you did, subscribe and come back for more. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks very much for watching.
You've made it right to the end of the video, you brilliant legend you. If you've enjoyed it, click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you really enjoyed it, consider joining the channel and see the benefits of doing so. Check out these other videos. You might well find them interesting or useful. And most importantly, have a great life.